Am I the jerk for not letting my sister believe that she can talk to a bird? My 16M family has a pet parrot. They are all pretty much obsessed with him, and my younger and older sisters both keep buying him toys, new food, making him new fruit and vegetable mixes to try out, etc. My parents also pay a lot of attention to him and even set up the extra room we have for his cage so he can sleep better at night. He has been with us for a few months now, and my family's obsession still hasn't died down. I've been mostly indifferent since I'm not the biggest fan of animals, and my parents keep him away from my room. Luckily for me, it seems like he doesn't like me anyways, so it's even easier to avoid him flying to my shoulder or anything like that. The problem though is that today my sister Emma 10F was talking quietly to that bird. She was holding him and saying things like, "You know I love you, right?" and kissing him on the head while the parrot would just mimic the sound. It went on for a while and she repeated that enough that it seemed like she was looking for a response, so I told her, "You know he doesn't understand you, right?" After I said that, she just looked at me and made a sour face and ignored me. I didn't want her to actually believe this bird can understand what she is saying since she watches a lot of Disney movies, so I feel like they could have given her the wrong idea. I gently explained to her that it's just a bird and that he doesn't understand things like we do. She told me to stop bothering her and ended up leaving the room and told my mom about it. My mom told me she believed it was harmless for my sister to talk to her pet and that the bird reciprocated her feelings. So I told her that this will harm my sister's way of thinking and get her bullied at school. She told me to drop it and not get involved anymore. Am I the jerk? I think my sister is old enough to understand what I'm saying, and my mom is just too nice. Story 2. Am I the jerk for telling my mom that she can stay in my house but not my stepdad or his son's family? My dad died when I was 5 and my mom married my stepdad around 3 years later. He had 2 kids as well, a boy that was 3 years older than me and a daughter that was 2 years younger, and he always treated them better than he treated me. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and never worked. He held the fact that he saved us from poverty over our heads. Things didn't get really bad though until my half-brother was born. He's 8 years younger than me, and I think he was part of the reason why they got married in the first place. When he turned 3, they moved him into my room, and then when he was 6, my stepfather decided he deserved his own room, so he took my room and I started living out of the living room. I slept on the couch and all of my clothes were stuffed into a coat closet. Any clothes that didn't fit in the tiny closet were donated away. Then when I turned 16, my stepdad demanded I get a job and start paying rent. My older stepbrother was taking a gap year before college and didn't have to do that. The only one that was at all decent was my stepsister, who even begged her dad to let me stay in her room. He refused, which I don't blame her for, because it would definitely be inappropriate for a 17-year-old boy to share a room with a 16-year-old girl. When I graduated from high school, my stepfather told me that he would not be paying for my college. A year before, he had agreed to pay for my stepbrother's college entirely. I was able to get a few scholarships and loans to pay for college, as well as the money I'd saved from working. I had enough for the first year, so I left. I met my now wife in my first year, and she's the only reason I'm where I am today. Her parents were also wonderful, and after our first year, they took me into their own home and then helped me pay for the rest of college. Her dad helped me get my first job and even invested in my business at the beginning. My business has really grown since then, and I've become very wealthy. My stepbrother ended up getting a girl pregnant in his 3rd year of college, dropped out, and now still lives with my stepfather and mom with his now wife and 3 kids. Since I still need to see my mom, my wife and I purchased 2 houses in my hometown. We rent out one and use the other whenever I go visit. Well, the last few years have been really bad for my stepdad. He had to close down his business over COVID, and some other things happened, so they're flat broke now. They need to sell the house to cover their debts. My mom knows about the house I own and asked me if they could move in. I told her that she can, but my stepfather and stepbrother's family can't. My mom was very upset about this. My stepfather called me a lot of names, but mainly just ungrateful and heartless. My wife thinks that I should just agree, since it would be hard on my mom to be away from her husband and I'm making my stepbrother and his family homeless. Am I the jerk? Edit. I'm going to put this here because I've put it in a few comments. The main reason my stepfather has so much debt is because of my stepsister's illness. I also helped pay for her medical costs. She has since passed away, but my stepfather still has significant debts from those expenses. She was the reason why I got back into regular contact with my family, but I now want to be in my mother's life to just be in her life. A lot of people are blaming my mom, but please put yourself in her shoes for a moment. She was an immigrant woman with no friends or family in a country where she barely even spoke the language. She was working a very low-wage job when they met and could barely afford to get me food and clothes. She then got pregnant very soon after. Sure, she might have been able to leave him, but it's not as easy as some of you think. I can't blame her when I'm sure she was also being emotionally and financially abused and she had virtually no power in the relationship. That being said, I'm going to talk to her about her relationship with my stepfather. I'm going to make sure to let her know that I will support her if she wants to divorce him, but I will not agree to any situation where he or his son might be living in a house that I own. Also, some people have spoken ill of my wife for taking their side. My wife is an extremely generous person, and although she personally thinks that I would be right to cut off contact with my family completely, she also thinks that if I am going to remain in contact, then I should make a full effort in it. This includes helping someone in need when I have the capability to do so. My wife always sees the best in people. My wife and I also helped out her mom after my wife's father passed away. Unfortunately, cancer has been a massive curse on the people that matter most to me. My wife and I provide for her mother completely, so she thinks that we owe the same to my mother as well. Part of the reason why I was questioning whether what I was doing was wrong was because of what my stepfather said regarding my stepsister. He made the point that she would have been disappointed that I wasn't helping family. My sister, like my wife, was extremely generous. He would do volunteer work even when she was barely strong enough to stand on her own. Family was extremely important to her. After he said that, it really made me think if I was doing the wrong thing, especially since he's right that I would be making life very hard for my stepbrother's kids who didn't do anything wrong. My stepsister really loved those kids, so I feel like I should care for them in her memory, but I just can't get over how terrible my stepbrother treated me. The response to this post has really helped me stand firm on my decision because I was definitely wavering. Story 3. Am I the jerk for making my daughters wear dresses when they visit their grandparents? My in-laws are what you would call traditional. They seem to think the world should have stopped 50 years ago and think everything since then is evil. They aren't racist that I know of or outwardly bigoted, but they just are very old-fashioned. My husband and I have 3 children, 16F, 14F, 10 meters, and we go to visit all their grandparents since they live close. Here's the issue, they don't like the idea of women wearing pants. My Mill says it's showing off and my Phil always says it isn't Christian. Now I'm pretty feminine, so I don't mind throwing on a dress when we stop by, but our daughters are not. They don't like visiting my husband's parents, which breaks his heart because we make them put on a dress before they go. They are both pretty tomboyish, and they never wear any dresses otherwise. I had to buy each of them a few dresses specifically so they can go. To be clear, it's not like they aren't allowed over if they wear pants, it's just that they won't shut up the entire time about how much they hate it. Our daughters hate this and think it's unfair. I guess it is, but in a lot of cultures, women only wear skirts and dresses, so I don't think it's a big deal. Plus, it isn't like it hurts them to wear a dress a few times a week for a few hours. The issue is our oldest is planning to never speak to her grandparents again after she's 18, and I'm worried it's affecting them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.